We are live. Welcome to the TigerBait postgame show. And something happened that I predicted in roundabout ways, or I thought maybe it'd be a nice thing. But sure enough, LSU gets a huge win over Texas A&M, sends Ed Orgeron out in a nice way. Great for the seniors. Not as big of a crowd as I thought there would have been tonight, but what a football game for LSU. And I think also tonight you saw firsthand why all throughout the coaching search I was dead set against Jimbo Fisher being a possibility to be LSU's next football coach. Honestly, if the Texas A&M football program is where they think it is and stocked with the talent that they think that they have, and that they're moving up to the next level, there's no excuse for them losing to a depleted LSU football team tonight, and that's exactly what they did. And kudos to LSU. Big kudos to the LSU defense. Darante Jones, I think, continues to show why I think he's going to have a lot of options somewhere in football for years to come. And I think he's going to land on his feet. But really, LSU avoids a losing season, which they haven't done since 1999. So very much a big positive tonight. Ed Orgeron announced tonight that he would not coach in the bowl game, that Brad Davis would be the interim coach in a bowl situation. So a lot to talk about. And, of course, the Lincoln Riley stuff. Oklahoma State, is it over?
Oh, yeah, they're storming the field in Stillwater.
Okay, well, it's
Full court press
just
coming.
what you wanted. If Lincoln Riley's your guy and you believe he's going to be the guy, we've got that to talk about tonight. So welcome into the TigerBait postgame show. LSU gets the big win over Texas A&M. And let me give you another little story before I pass it over to Preston. TigerBait is on the same servers as texags.com. And because I'm pretty sure this is why we're unable to load stories on a tigerbait.com right now, is because Aggie fans are basically bombarding the server to vent about that loss, and it's bringing the whole network down, including TigerBait. So
that's something.
Yeah, so we're going to be putting the stories up probably a little bit during the show and after the show. But Kenny P. Haynes, of course, our attorney, the unofficial attorney of TigerBait.com, sponsors the show tonight. And so what do you think?
Man, I think tonight's going to be a wild show. You might even call it Bedlam tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Because lots going on, of course. Orgeron coached his last game. He made the official in the press conference that he will not be coaching on, and he made it very clear that he's looking forward to moving out to Florida and enjoying his beach condo. Of course, he thanked the media for treating him fairly during his time coaching at LSU, which rare for a coach to do that. But, man, what a wild win for LSU, and what a wild win for Oklahoma State. A game that might be more important for LSU than actually LSU winning tonight. So I'll start with LSU beating Texas A&M. Why is that important? Well, LSU has the second longest streak of not having a losing season in the country, right behind, ironically, Oklahoma. So they preserve that. Of course, they're going to have to win their bowl game because it looks like LSU will opt to do a bowl game with Brad Davis, the offensive line coach from Arkansas, being the head coach. Now, who would have called Brad Davis being your head coach by end of the season this year? The offensive line coach they just hired from Arkansas. Isn't that wild?
I would like to know how that came about, the logic behind it, what the thought process is. I think there's a whole story in itself on that. But it also could be, look, there's a whole lot of bad situations with this coaching staff. There's some very good coaches that just arrived in Baton Rouge and, that unfortunately, they came here thinking that they were taking a job that would be for years to come, and it's going to be only one season. And, of course, Brad Davis is the worst scenario of them all. He leaves Arkansas, a new, young regime in Fayetteville to take the LSU job, come back home. He comes in June, and, bad deal for him. But it's like that for a lot of coaches. So
can I tell you a conspiracy theory why I think they may have picked him? Something very interesting, first line in his bio on LSUsports.net. Brad Davis, a member of Baton Rouge native and member of Oklahoma's 2000 national championship team. Something there. He played for Oklahoma. I don't know.
That's not a conspiracy theory. That really isn't, because he's a lifeline to a possible new coach.
Yeah.
Who would oversee bowl practices or, and
I don't think that's coincidence at all. And I also don't think that LSU putting that in their very first sentence of his bio, I'd like to know when that was added there.
Yeah.
So anyways, no, I think that there might be something there. And look, I think at this point, I'd be surprised. I'd be a little surprised if Lincoln Riley did not end up being LSU's coach. I mean, things happen. We all know how coaching searches work, but I think we're all sitting here kind of expecting it.
A little funny tonight is at halftime, or I think it was between quarters, we were up. We left our seats in the press box, and there's a little commons area where the media are at. And Scott Woodward's brother was mingling about. And it was funny to see the media see him and, like, debate whether to go up to him and see if they should grill him to see what he knows. And I saw there was a few conversation with him around me, and everybody behaved themselves. But, look, what I find astonishing is the Oklahoma media. I listen to a podcast that includes two guys that I'm very familiar with that run the Oklahoma site in that market. And 2 days ago, they did a podcast where they basically were mocking everybody down here and just thought the whole thing was silly. And in their minds, there was a less than 5% chance that Lincoln Riley would be the next LSU football coach. And look, there's oftentimes a lot of guys in markets that are the last to know. If you ask me how is it going to go down now that Oklahoma State has beaten Oklahoma, if Lincoln Riley is the guy, I believe that it's likely that we're going to find out from a source in Norman, Oklahoma, first, whether it's because he's called a players' meeting tomorrow to let him know that he's taking the LSU job or whatever it may be. But I believe that the first news of it is going to come from an Oklahoma news site. I do know that the Advocate has a reporter there. I learned that tonight. But we're going to see how this plays out. It's going to be very, very interesting. My whole thought on it is the Lincoln Riley thing. If Scott Woodward knew that Lincoln Riley wasn't the guy, and that the LSU fan base had basically bought into the Lincoln Riley rumors, and he knew that he wasn't getting him, and he wasn't the guy, and it was going to be something that I think is probably on the lower tier of coaches that we've been talking about for the last month. I think somehow, some way, Scott Woodward would have gotten the word out somehow so that the LSU fan base wouldn't have a letdown when he tried to roll out, let's say, a Mark Stoops or something like that. And I'm not denigrating Mark Stoops or saying he's a bad coach. But to me, your upper tier coaches that we were talking about through the whole process include a Lincoln Riley, a Cristobal, a Fickle, a Brian Kelly, the really the pie in the sky guys that have highly ranked football teams right now, have good jobs in premier conferences that you usually don't see coaches leave those kind of jobs for. And so I don't know. I haven't heard anything that leads me to believe that somebody else besides Lincoln Riley, and so I'm sticking with it. And so, Guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Please share this to social media. Because of what I was describing earlier with TigerBait.com and us being down, I was unable to send out. I was basically dropping YouTube on Facebook and Twitter and so forth. But do me a favor. Please share to your own social media on Facebook that the show's live. We got a big group in here right now. Very much appreciative of y'all. If you're enjoying the show on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. We've got a lot coming your way through the new coaching hire in the next is it going to be within the next 72 hours, possibly? So it's going to be, I tell you, I've got a refrigerator full of 300 milligram caffeine drinks.
Oh, okay. Thanks for saying caffeine, because
Yeah, because I'm going to be off to the races every day. So
yeah.
and we're
Let's
going to
put
be
it like
working around
this.
it. We got a lot of programming coming your way.
Given that Oklahoma State won tonight, which was the big one we needed to have happen, I would expect an announcement, even if it's not Lincoln Riley, to be made before I go live Tuesday at 8 p.m. I'm actively anticipating having to line up someone who would know about the coach, whoever that may be. So we're going to sit down, buckle up, and see who that is.
If it's not Lincoln, if you're not hearing of a coach, if nothing is broke in the next 24 hours, then something's is going awry, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that's true.
Or it's the most massive head fake in the history of coaching searches.
Yeah, of course, we did see a report tonight from one of the Reveille kids. I don't know how much is there, but he seems to believe there was a verbal agreement ahead of time. So I tried to message him on his sources.
Well, but that's easy to put together. That's easy to say.
Sure. Yeah, I know, and there's nothing there. But he says he has 10-plus sources from, quote, his media connections, who, and we'll see.
Bullshit on that.
Well, I'm just reporting what we saw. It's more legitimate than some of the sources we've seen, but
Reveille?
yeah. Hey, look.
Come on, man.
The Reveille's way more legitimate than a lot of the things we've seen out there this
I'll
week.
give you that. I
mean, but let's put it like this. It's the most legitimate we've seen of any reports like that. But do I believe that it wouldn't make sense to me that he would beat Ross Dellinger to this? You know what I mean? Like, why would he?
No, I understand. Ross says, I don't know. And by the way, and this is another feather in Scott Woodward's hat. And by the way, we say Scott Woodward all the time. Beetlejuice. No, Stephanie Rempe, his right-hand girl, woman, whatever her associate athletic director, however her title reads, it's my understanding she's the one that's put in a lot of the work on this and might even have been the source into making it happen, just like she was with Jay Johnson. So we talk about Scott Woodward a lot. I think a lot of people need to start talking about Stephanie Rempe.
Yeah. It's doing a lot of work behind the scenes there. So, Mike, let me ask you this. If it's not Lincoln Riley, can you give me two names who you think it might be?
I think
because my gut tells me Napier would be the guy they're truly looking at. Why haven't he signed that deal with Florida yet?
I will say that I do believe Napier wants LSU over Florida.
Yes, and I think he's holding out because of that.
But would the next guy in line, let's say it's not Riley or Riley changes his mind, I think the next guy might be Stoops.
Mark? Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I would argue that until ink is on paper for Dave Aranda, he'd be a good one to go to. And behind him, I mean, yeah, I'd take Mark Stoops over Matt Campbell. Of course, we saw a lot of buzz around Matt Campbell, but I'd say that. But those are probably your four names you're looking at because, of course, a lot of names have pulled their names out of the hat.
Let's fly through some of these. Cindy Mercer, I never wanted Jimbo Fisher. Neither did I. That was a perfect pass from Max. Boy, that was a beauty. No doubt.
I looked up on that final drive and I said, all right, guys, 20-year streak of winning seasons on the line, and it's
Blaine Smith.
Jake Pietz's.
Thanks to all the seniors. How serious is Walker Howard's latest injury? I was unable to make a call today. Chris and Vanessa Mesh Domain, hello. Slinger going to call offense, hearing Pete's may be gone too. Yeah, I
haven't heard anything like that. I listened to the post game, and that's all we have right now.
Yeah, no.
I will say it's a lot of Twitter buzz saying, "Thank God this is Pete's last game." I'm like, I don't know about that.
He's under contract, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
he's obligated. Casey Campbell, got to admit to some emotion tonight. I completely agree. Ed had to go, but I'm glad he went out exactly like this. I'm with you, Casey.
Yeah.
This was a very much. Look, there's no perfect way for name the head coaches in college football history that went out the way they wanted. Tom Osborne, Bobby Bowden. I mean, you would have thought Joe Paterno would have went out the way he wanted to, but that didn't happen. It really doesn't. It never goes that way. But
Urban Meyer.
under the circumstances, I think this was very much a positive.
Yeah.
I've thought all along that whatever wounds there is with Coach Orgeron, I think they're going to heal quickly. I really believe that. I don't think it will be any extended amount of time to where Ed Orgeron can't come between quarters and wave to the crowd celebrating the anniversary of a championship or this or that. I think he's going to be very welcome around Baton Rouge and LSU by a lot of people, and I hope it stays that way.
Yep.
And if there, there's no doubt there's bad blood in there. There's stuff that goes behind the scenes that you don't see in front of the brand, as they like to call it. But I think the mature people up there, can bury it and do it for the fans and do it the right way. So I'm happy for Coach Orgeron. I'm happy for the staff, and I'm happy for those senior players. And man, what can you say about this depleted LSU football team? I think there was like 58 guys dressed out.
Played their freaking hearts out, man. I mean, they were just
and
you're scraping the bottom of the barrel in so many spots. And every single player I saw out there played their freaking hearts out, man. It was
and that's a story
fun to see.
And that's a story that those guys that played tonight will be able to tell for decades to come.
Yeah.
And it'll be remembered.
Good for them, man.
Yeah.
Of course, now is the time where you have to rebuild this roster and get more than 58 scholarship players playing.
Yeah.
So, new coach.
It's going to take several years to get the LSU roster back to a full 85. Yeah. Just because of attrition, transfer portal now. Mm-hmm. Even even with the 25 plus 7, you're still going to be under.
Well, and you're at 14 on the signing class right now, and I got a text today from someone who's not 100% certain about that, and about a commit who's not 100% certain right now. I'm not going to say any names, but how many players are you bringing in as true freshmen this year? Is 20 the number, and then you're going to look for 5 grad transfers? What do you think?
I think you go to sign as many as you can. I don't think you hold any back. That's what the transfer portal is.
I agree. But my point is how many freshmen do you bring in versus transfers?
Well, you're going to have the plus 7 that the NCAA is given.
Yeah.
Blaine Smith, come on, Mike. Is it Riley? Your sources got to have some info. I just, because there's been so much smoke there and no denials that are worth a darn coming out of Norman. And like I said earlier, no backing off. Because I'm telling you, if I'm Scott Woodward and I know I don't have Lincoln Riley and the LSU Public and all these shows like ours are running with Lincoln Riley, and my show the other night with the headline, is Lincoln Riley on the LSU clock? We've been focused on Lincoln Riley for weeks now.
Well, don't you think eventually they would have done something to deter that?
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm getting at. If I'm Scott Woodward, I'm like, man, I don't have Lincoln Riley. I'm not even talking to him. I'm about to roll out Mark Stoops on those people.
Yeah, you can't.
I would be like, they think they're getting Lincoln Riley, and I'm about to roll out Mark Stoops. I got to let the word out, get the word out that
it's not him, right?
It's not him. Yeah, well, that hasn't happened.
Yeah, no, right. You cannot allow this much hype to go this much for a name that big. We're talking about the biggest hire in the SEC since 2007 when Alabama plucked Nick Saban from the Dolphins. It's a colossal hire.
There's too many people I know that believe it's Lincoln Riley. But if you ask them, are you 100% certain? Well, no. So there's always that little doubt, okay? But I'm sticking with it being Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, I can't. I'd be shocked.
Kenny P. Haynes, this is the last negative things I have to say in the Orgeron era. Why are we throwing the ball on 2nd and inches in the fourth quarter and up a field goal? Sack.
Well, that's your shot down. And most coaches refer to it. If you have 2nd and inches, okay, and it's a tight game, that's when you're going to go play action or you're going to take your deep shot, assuming that you can get your safety net on third down, just get a couple inches. So that's not abnormal to see that. I do understand where you're coming from, and this coaching staff has struggled with that exact issue of getting too pass happy when they need to milk that clock. I was fine with that. That's actually very typical in that situation, I think.
Mark Cumby. Hopefully, Raleigh will retain some of the defensive coaches. Mark, we've been having this debate on the Tiger Den premium message board. The last thing you do if you're an athletics director is tell a new coach that he needs to keep this coach or that coach.
Right.
If he sees a coach or two that's currently on Ed Orgeron's staff that he thinks is better than anybody else that he'll bring in, then let him make that decision. But you don't foist upon him anybody, and I'm saying anybody. And I mean, there's some folks on my message board, and it makes me, and unfortunately, it makes me. A lot of people will bring up Corey Raymond. It makes me, the DBU thing was going before Corey Raymond. He maintained it, and good for him. Jamal Adams is his best out-of-state recruit, but every Louisiana defensive back that he signed was coming to LSU, regardless if Corey Raymond was the defensive backs coach. And so other people brought up Kevin Falk. There is no resume for Kevin Falk right now.
None.
He doesn't have a track record yet. You can't, and he's an offensive guy. What do you? I have no idea what Lincoln Riley thinks of his current running backs coach.
No, I'm gonna tell you this.
You're gonna tell Lincoln Riley, yeah, I know you think your running backs coach is great, but Kevin Falk is a Hall of Famer here at LSU, and you've got to have him.
Here's the deal: you don't bring in $100 million coach to micromanage.
No, you don't. And if it gets out that that's what you're doing, then the LSU public will turn on you.
Absolutely, they will oust you. I mean, because
they ain't gonna oust him, but it's gonna be like, dude, get out of the man's way. We appreciate you hiring him, but get out of the building. This isn't Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys.
Right, exactly. A lot of people go into it. By the way, Mark Cumby, I want to appreciate you for being a consistent viewer of our show, consistent commenter, man. It seems like every single week you're here. Appreciate you.
American Patriot. Great job, Oklahoma State. Yes, indeed. Kenny Russell, I'm confident it's him. Mike, you getting any text yet? No, but I'm going to check here in a minute.
I would be shocked if any major news broke tonight.
Casey Campbell, I'm not believing anything until the press conference happens. There's nothing wrong with that, Casey.
Yeah.
LSU Girl 04. When do y'all think the new head coach will be announced? A lot of stuff goes into announcing a new coach. Does the new football coach go above and beyond what Kim Mulkey got? I mean, are we going to have a brass band at the airport? Purple carpet rolled to the private jet.
I wouldn't be shocked to see
Mike the Tiger out there.
If it's the hire we think it is, I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of
is it
Tiger Stadium event.
Is it in the Tiger Stadium? Is it in the PMAC? Woodward was announced in the Union.
Yeah.
Woodward was announced in the journalism building.
That's right.
Will Wade was in the LSU Student Union.
That's right.
Which was pretty cool. Mulkey obviously had the biggest one.
Where was Orgeron announced at?
It was just, he's the guy.
Yeah, he's just the guy.
And then we had a press conference when he started hiring people.
Right.
But yeah, to me, you ought to do something big.
I agree. If you land $100 million man, anybody A-list caliber, fill up Tiger Stadium, man. Oh wait, a lot of empty seats in Tiger Stadium.
You use that as a recruiting tool.
Oh yeah, and you need a recruiting tool real fast because you need names filling up.
Yeah,
December 15th is right around the corner.
This needs to be much bigger if you can do it, much bigger than just the Lawton Room.
By the way, there's a lot of recruits in Louisiana there for the grabbing. And if you're an established head coach like a Lincoln Riley, there's probably some guys in your current class you can say, come on over.
I really believe they should do something in the PMAC. Just set it up the same way you did Mulkey's.
Yeah. We'll see, man. I think that'd be wild.
Blaine Smith, if Riley isn't announced by Wednesday, it's someone else. I think you might be right, Brent.
Yeah, that's probably a good call.
That would be there would be no reason for him not to be.
There's just no ball and shackle for Lincoln Riley anymore. Now, if there was a conference championship on the line, maybe, but there isn't. It's just a bowl game, and it's not going to be a playoff bid. It'll be a Sugar Bowl or something.
Joseph Thaddeus Guillot read off an Oklahoma source that he did hold a meeting and told his players he would not quit during the season, but wouldn't say if he was staying after the season, saying that he didn't. He need. I don't know.
I read that same rumor. Let me address it real quick. I don't know if there's anything valid to that. It's just kind of one of those message board rumors that spreads.
There's no way. That's no way.
Yeah. I mean, you just never know.
That would point to confirming everything.
Let me put it like this. The way it was presented in any kind of rumor thread like that probably isn't very accurate. There might be some truth that inspired that, but with these kind of things, you really want to report with a high level of accuracy, and that's just not the way message board rumors roll.
Yep. I want to talk about Kenneth P. Haynes, and of course, we're here each and every week, and Kenny is our title sponsor. He's a 1989 graduate of LSU Paul M. Aber Law Center. He's got 30 years of experience in family, business, and personal injury litigation. Over 15 years of experience as an assistant district attorney handling all post-conviction matters. He's been lead counsel on everything from complicated rollover accident to a simple divorce to a death sentence appeal. He's board certified in family law since 2004 and board certified in appellate practice every year that the specialty has been offered. He served on the Specialization Advisory Committee for Family Law 2 full terms. He's currently serving on the Specialization Advisory Committee for Appellate Practice, and he's the vice chairman. He's an invited speaker to LSU Continuing Legal Education, and he's a proud founding member of TigerBait, and he's an active participant on our Tiger Den Premium Message Board, and he's sometimes referred to as the unofficial official lawyer of TigerBait because he always reserves the right to think most clearly for a paying client. Give him a call, 318-222-2100. And, of course, they're on 912 Kings Highway in Shreveport. So if you're anywhere in North Louisiana, Alexandria to Monroe to Shreveport, Ruston, anywhere in between, and you have any legal needs, please give Kenny a call. In the description box, you'll see a link to his webpage. Click on it, familiarize yourself with Kenny. And he's a dear friend of mine as well. So we're glad to have Kenny as a sponsor of our show each and every week.
Yes, thank you, Kenny. Mike, if you don't have anything coming here, I really want to highlight two players who got to some cool, interesting markers tonight.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot of Lincoln Riley stuff, but
there's a lot
let's talk about that football game.
So, yeah, incredible football game. Shout out to Tyrion Davis-Price, who, of course, after just an abysmal start at 84 yards tonight and booked himself a 1,000-yard season. So, good on him.
Trey Palmer, 985, showing up big.
985 representing. Yeah, he had a great screen there, and that was one of the ways you should use a guy like that underneath, go through these teams. Damone Clark, though, who got extremely bashed early on in his career, even during the championship run, has been square peg, round hole, notched another 10 tackles tonight, and now has 136 tackles this year. That is extraordinary. The record is 151 by Brady James. I think that was made in 2001. Am I right? Anyways, check my 150 by Brady James. Watch out. Damone Clark with a big bowl game. He might be your all-time season leading tackler. So,
well, I think
what a comeback story for him.
I think he's about to have a gargantuan NFL career. Team Thompson Bass Fishing, thank you very much for the super chat. What about the rumor that LSU players following Riley on Twitter this week? True or false in your opinion? I went and looked at Lincoln Riley's Twitter. And of course, when you follow somebody on Twitter, it'll say, these people who you follow also follow. And so I started to scroll down, then I got sidetracked to see who they were. But what I did notice was a lot of them were guys that I probably expected to follow Lincoln Riley, either because they're college football fans,
right,
or if they were recruited by Lincoln Riley.
Two stood out to me, two of them. Okay, Jay Johnson, Will Wade. Will Wade has not tweeted on his Twitter account since 2018, and that to me screams LSU staff are managing
and
that
they
account.
And by the way, they won the Emerald Classic They beat Wake Forest.
Hey,
tonight.
shout out! They're 7-0, man. Boot up, man. You gotta love
Nothing
what
but
they're doing.
LSU people in Destin. I got a bunch of buddies who went. My boys from Crowley. They were all down there in Destin for both games, and they said it was wall to wall LSU people.
By the way, it is November 27th, and the basketball team has won more games than the football team.
That's okay. They beat Texas. They beat Texas A&M.
But anyways,
that makes
I'm
people happy.
gonna just tell you, having worked in that SID for a while and knowing how they manage a lot of the coaching accounts, to me that screams Stafford did it. I don't think Will Wade, even for a second, picked up his phone, got on Twitter, and said, "Man, I'm interested in Lincoln Riley."
So far, there's only one thing that could have made this Saturday complete. That didn't happen.
What's that? Alabama losing?
Auburn.
Yeah, 4 overtimes. Yeah, look, I'll take it, though. The 2 out of the 3 that you really wanted to happen, look, Alabama losing is all hunky-dory and all, but truth be told, if Oklahoma didn't win tonight, you really needed Alabama to win that game, to stay above them in the playoff hunt.
Joel Robinson sends in a super chat. No comment, though, but very much appreciative. Joel, if I'll scroll down if you do have a question or you just didn't get it in there.
He has one about 2-3 down.
Is there? Okay, Let me find it.
But yeah, appreciate you, Joel. I'll start reading it while you find it.
Go ahead and read it.
Have you heard of if Coach O will coach the bowl game? Just heard him saying, "Take care of the boys," as he was driving off from the stadium. That's very nice of you to give that little insight. He announced in his post-game press conference he will not coach the bowl game. They mutually agreed not to. He said, "Look, there's a new guy coming in. I don't want to be here as a distraction." That's what he said in the post-game press conference.
I think that's best.
And he said Brad Davis will be the interim coach, which is very interesting because that's not the first name. He's a new guy on the staff, offensive line coach, not a ton of experience. Like I said, conspiracy hat, tinfoil hat squarely on. I think it stands out to me that he played at Oklahoma.
I love that Ed Orgeron went out with the win over A&M, especially the way it ended. To me, that's just it's fantastic. So, some of you are old enough to remember Charlie Mack and how that ended. To me, that was a very much a great thing tonight.
Yeah. By the way, Les Miles should have ended that way.
Blaine Smith, St. Thomas More eliminated, Howard on the way. Yeah, I had that game on. I was watching that one. I was watching for a while. I was watching LCA and Newman. LCA blasted Arch Manning, and then Arch Manning created his Twitter account last night.
Was it legit? I saw it.
Or is that you think that's a fake account?
I didn't verify, but I can follow up with Cooper. I didn't want to text him at 2 a.m.
Yeah, okay. And so we had that going on, the LSU basketball game going on, and what other game I was following? Shoot, I don't remember. But anyways,
it was a fun
some
night.
very interesting games. Of course, U-High is going to be playing for another state championship. Kavlikaya moves on. Zachary in overtime. So a lot of good football left to be played. But, yeah, Walker Howard will be on his way, and those guys are just waiting to see the new coach get rolled out. Tony Williams. Max Johnson finished the game Joe Montana style.
Boy, did he. By the way, another good statistical game that it's just funny. It never looks pretty for him. But then you look up at the end of the game, you're like 22 of 38, 306 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. It's shocking how consistent his stat line is with these kind of games. Doesn't look pretty, gets the job done, got to win. We'll see. I don't know. The quarterback race for next year is going to be an interesting one because Walker Howard is no scrub.
Conley Brasso. Yes, I did, Conley. Did you see the video of the Oklahoma State playing Colin Baton Rouge during an OU timeout? That's a great troll job.
I can't think of a better troll job than that.
Is there anybody at LSU
ever
that would troll like that runs the board? And by the way, there's about 2 or 3 songs that
Michael Bonnet would.
you're about to say boomer.
Okay, boomer.
And I'm not a boomer. I'm Generation X.
But you're on the borderline, though.
But there's about 2 or 3 songs that are constantly played in Tiger Stadium, and I think it's time that we're done.
Look, man.
We're done. And you know which one I'm.
Boomer sooner.
What song do I want gone?
I'm from Louisiana.
That's got to go. I've had it.
No, dude, you cannot get rid of that.
I'm done with it.
You remember 2015 when they couldn't cover a kick until they started playing that song, and miraculously kick coverage started coming?
I don't buy into
They
that.
can't do it, dude. You don't understand how hyped these players
Jacques
get
Doucet
over
was
it.
sitting next to me, and I was like, oh, "Can we?" And he's like, "What about that one?" Yep. I'm like, there's a playlist I want to get rid of.
Yeah, every time you hate on one of these
But
songs,
I'll do y'all
gray.
solid. If I get to choose the playlist, I'll bring back Neck. But let me get rid of that one.
Okay.
And what's the other song? There's another one I hate.
Another one you hate? Colin Baton Rouge?
No, I can live with that one.
I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Another song you hate? You hate that one so much. Every single
There's
time
another
you hear
hip hop song.
You're gonna have to be more specific, Mike. That doesn't narrow it down very much. Welcome to 2021, Michael Scarborough.
No.
There is more than one hip hop song breaking.
Get some Rush in there or something. Okay.
Someone said, "Nice try, Preston." Look, guys, PG show. I'm not about to drop curse words on this show because I want your children watching too.
Yeah, Adam Ahmed, let's hire Jimbo now. I told y'all that y'all saw firsthand. I mean, they think they've arrived or they're close to arriving. I mean, so they finished 8-4. But they beat Alabama.
Hey. I tend to ask myself, is there a ceiling at Texas A&M? I think there's a lot of talent in Texas, but how spread thin is that talent? Because Texas is a hotbed where teams come in nationally to recruit, like Oklahoma, but then you're splitting it Baylor, Texas Tech, Texas A&M, Texas. I mean, how many ways can you dice that
Brian
giant
Burks,
pie?
I thought Mike was a boomer. No.
He's close, though.
No, I'm not. No,
and sometimes he acts more boomer than he does Gen
But
X.
I could be a good. I think I can act like a good boomer.
He can act like he does a good imitation, but
I pride myself.
Guys,
I pride myself on sometimes pulling off the get off my lawn routine pretty good.
you do it really well, very well, especially with your music tastes and a few other tastes of yours. But I'll give you credit. You are a site owner.
Hey, look, Josh Forbes. I agree with Mike. That song is bad.
Oh, get out of here, Josh. Can we boot him again?
All right, no. Now Josh is in good with me now.
Is he on Facebook now? Yeah, he's back on Facebook. We fixed it.
All right.
Get out of here, Josh.
Yeah, look at that. Riley on the hot seat yet? Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, Jimbo is overrated.
Can I say something about Riley? Everybody bashing LSU for saying it's a pressure cooker. They're firing coaches too fast, all that good stuff. Dude, elite coaches, they welcome the standards. And that's why they negotiate for guaranteed money. Parker,
stop it.
also doesn't mind it being a pressure cooker.
Gerald Jr. asked Mike, what's the deal with Harold Perkins? Hashtag Ask Mike. All right.
Hey.
I'm getting a little Blake Ruffino action. Hashtag Ask Blake. What's the deal with Harold Perkins? I still think LSU's a player there.
Yeah.
As soon as they can get a head coach, we're going to see.
Well, that's what we were saying. As soon as they bring in a coach, there's some recruits, things can happen pretty quickly.
Give Coach Baker kudos on that.
Yeah.
And the whole staff. They're still recruiting.
Yeah, they are.
Robbie Honecker, is David Aranda out of the mix? I believe so, yes. Brian Williams, Gen X is the best generation. You're absolutely right, Brian.
Yeah, whatever. It's the condescending generation. The contrarian generation is what y'all are.
Dude, you're a millennial.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, y'all are easy. Y'all are easy to pick at.
We're the ones who do all the work nowadays, man.
All right, let's see.
Hey, you know who else is a millennial? Mike Scarborough. You know who else is a millennial?
The Facebook guy?
Lincoln Riley.
Yeah. But he acts like Gen X.
That's pretty convenient to say. He seems pretty millennial to me.
American Patriot, thanks for putting out on a great show. Did Walker get injured last night? After the pick six, I was watching it live, and he was chasing the guy down the field, and, man, it looked like he was hopping so bad, it was almost like he looked like he was doing a triple jump. Now, what that is, I don't know. I didn't get a chance to make a call today, but I will follow up that ASAP, I promise.
By the way, someone commented on there.
I tell you what, I think Walker needs several weeks of just staying away from work, doing conditioning work, lifting weights.
Getting bigger.
But really just,
Well, he pushed himself through a pretty
I mean,
not so small injury.
He had a clean break, but even then, he still had some nerve issues.
Right.
And he's
a tough SOB.
And he was playing with a soccer shin guard turned sideways on his leg.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminded me of Tobey Maguire and Seabiscuit with the broomstick stuffed in the boot.
That's a tough kid. He might benefit from, just some time away to just heal, man, because he's pushing through. Somebody commented that OU doesn't have the money that LSU has. And y'all understand, it's not that OU doesn't have the money to match. They can.
They've got
they
money.
Choose not to.
They got money. That's their oil. They got money.
Someone said I'll cry like a baby when I realize Lincoln is not coming to Baton Rouge. I think I'm going to do on my show Tuesday night if Lincoln is the coach by then on. I'm not going to say for sure.
Patron just said Lincoln Riley said I am not going to be the next coach of LSU.
Interesting. Did he really?
That's what Scott says.
I'm going to Google that, but we'll see. If it does happen, I'm going to tell you this, the montage of people just adamantly denying it, it's going to be epic.
Man, we got a big group in here tonight. 670 of you guys. Very much thank y'all for joining the show. Let's see what we got here. Please do me a favor. If you're just joining the show, you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, notification bell. If you're enjoying the show, please hit the like button. Blake Ruffino says, yes, he did. He did say that Lincoln Riley said that. And it's per Ross Dellinger, Scott adds. So there we go.
Oh, boy. That's a shocker, but
Rick Kelly, Mike, have you watched Jesuit this year? No, I have not.
I'm going to try to see if I can find verification of that quote. There's Ross Dellinger 2 minutes ago. I am not going to be the next head coach at LSU from Ross Dellinger.
James Washington, Mike, did you catch the Sterlington Madison prep game? No, I didn't. I'm unaware that it was televised anywhere, or if it was on YouTube. I didn't see it, but I did see the score, and I haven't talked to any of the coaches at Madison Prep yet. But that looked like it must have. What was it, 34-31? That one looked like it was a whale of a game. I like to get I wouldn't mind seeing a video of it, but
yeah,
I really love the coaches at Madison Prep. Those are some good guys, and I wish they would have been able to pull that one out. Drift 318. Those words mean nothing. Example, Saban, I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. We'll see.
We'll see.
It just adds a little more extra storyline to this whole thing.
I'll tell you what, I broke down some denials earlier in this season, and we can't do a film breakdown of this right now. I was thinking, why does this make sense? I'm going to tell you one thing that's a little different. Nick Saban in that situation was coaching a team. There's games to focus on. Right now, Lincoln Riley, they just finished their season.
Bart Smokey, start looking at Brian Kelly. That is the one guy that I do know that there was some contact. I have that verified that there was contact between LSU and Brian Kelly probably over a month ago, maybe 5-6 weeks ago. And I want to say the initial answer was no, but that doesn't mean they didn't go back in on him. We were talking tonight, myself and a couple of media members in the press box. There's one guy out there while everybody's talking about Lincoln Riley. Is there somebody that's going to, because that's been so great. And that's, that's part of the deal with Woodward. It's like, does he have a guy like Brian Kelly that maybe he went back in on? Or is it Mario Cristobal? Or is it somebody like that where he's like, they can keep talking about Lincoln Riley all they want. That's giving me cover. And then he slides in somebody else through the side door.
Here's my thought on that.
All those guys are A-list. There's the A-list category.
Here's my thought on that.
If you get any of those, it's a home run.
You can't use Lincoln Riley as a smokescreen for anybody else, basically. That is the whale. That is the top name That is the biggest name.
I think they just lost to Oklahoma State, and I'm not saying that that's a big deal, but he's lost a bunch of he's lost every playoff appearance. But we made the announcement as to why he makes sense.
Here's the deal:
for him to leave Oklahoma for LSU.
But you can't trash him for losing in the playoffs to guys who haven't made the playoffs. You see what I'm saying? The criticisms start to all fall apart when you compare him to anybody else. Those criticisms exist to a greater extent.
But he's not the whale.
He's the whale in college football. He's the whale. There's no bigger name you could hire as a college football coach that is reasonably attainable than Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, no, you're wrong.
It is leaps and bounds different.
You're absolutely wrong.
I think, dude, I
Dude,
don't know.
you're wrong.
How am I not wrong? In what way?
He don't have a national championship.
Okay, well, there's like 5 coaches with national championships, and you just fired one. So good luck. He's the whale.
No, he's
55 and 10.
There's more. There's 2 or 3 others.
55 and 10. 3 playoff appearances. 2 Heisman winners. How many Big 12 titles?
So is he a bigger whale than Ryan Day?
Well, reasonably attainable. I don't think Ryan Day is reasonably attainable at all.
And why is he? Why do you think he's reasonably?
We've talked about it all season. I'm not going to reiterate it right here. We've talked about it all season. You compare him. Sure, you want to compare him to Dabo. You want to compare him to Nick. You want to compare him to Ryan Day. Go ahead.
Do you think he's head and tails above Mario Cristobal?
Heads and tails, yes. I think he's a full tier. Now, do I think Mario Cristobal's a bad coach? Absolutely not.
I think you're wrong.
But do I think he's anything close to what Lincoln Riley is, at least on paper? No. We're talking about a coach with about an 850 win percentage versus a coach with like a 550 win percentage.
I think there's a tier group of the A-list that you would say would be attainable going into this thing. And I'll just go back to day one, our hot board. Lincoln Riley, Mario Cristobal, Luke Fickell, Brian Kelly. Who am I missing? Next tier down is the B tier. Dave Aranda, Stoops, Napier. Who am I missing? Mel Tucker.
Yeah.
That's your B tier.
Lane Kiffin?
Lane Kiffin is B tier.
Yeah. He's in there too. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where they go from here. I expect they'll be naming someone this week. Because I tell you what, if Lincoln Riley is a hard no and they can't lobby with him, I don't think it'd take very long.
I'm going to use this
Billy
as an
Napier
example as one of Kyle Brister's senile posts, and he posts a lot of them. I told y'all the other day it was Nick Saban. So now we can put Kyle to bed and be done with that forever. Hunter Fontenot, did y'all expect him to say yes to that tonight? Really, though? No, I did not. And you're not going to say, yeah, I'm going to be the LSU coach when you haven't had a chance to talk to your team first.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to read into that. I will say this, is that he probably could have sidestepped it like he did a couple weeks ago. But, you know, sometimes the pressure's on in the moment. It's hard. It's hard to field those questions in that situation. So it's hard to read too much into that. But it is a hard denial. Not one that sabotages yourself like we talked about with Jimbo Fisher's denial. That's one that makes you look really dumb if you go on to do it.
700 in here right now, even.
How about that?
Carl Dunn, I'm just sitting back and eating popcorn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're going to have, this is going to, look, first of all, it's great that Ed Orgeron goes out with a win, and it's great that it's against Texas A&M, and I swear if you listen to some A&M folks, and I've got friends that are Texas A&M, I mean, you think that they're getting built like the '85 Bears if you listen to them.
Hey, Adam. I'm sorry. Yeah, Adam Ahmed. Great comment. Preston, you can't hate on the club. You can't even get in. That's what I'm talking about, Lincoln Riley. Stop hating on him for losing in the playoffs if your guy hadn't even been there.
No. I've been making the argument for Lincoln Riley, saying that the reason why he loses in the playoffs is because at Oklahoma, it's a state that produces 2 or 3 legit big-time football players, and you've got to go to Texas and ransack that state and do it every year, and even then it's not enough. So you're going to get quarterbacks, you're going to get receivers, but you can't recruit enough defensive talent once you get in the playoffs to win football games.
I agree.
And that's the reason why LSU makes sense for him. But even though you say LSU makes sense for him and you say he's gettable, he's still at a premier job in America making a darn good salary. And we don't, so look, these are always tall orders. But I will say this, the reason why, look, having run a website for all these years and watch how each site publisher runs a website and puts together a hot board, there's always a list that makes other fan bases laugh at who they think is on their list and who they think they should be able to get, who they think they deserve. And then, of course, they always end up, with coaches that they end up with the Brian Harsons of the world.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I just don't think LSU in this spot.
But because of what Scott Woodward has
do
done, it makes you believe that there is no pie in the sky, that the pie is you've got the fork in your hand because it's Scott Woodward. He puts the fork in your hand.
Right.
And you're ready to take a bite of the pie.
Right. That's exactly right. Well, and the thing that kept on standing out, why I kind of honed in on Lincoln Riley early in this process is because, I mean, look at his track record. A lot of these names we're talking about, Lane Kiffin type names, like, no offense to him as a coach, but it would be the most underwhelming hire of his career. And is he going to reserve his most underwhelming hire of his career for this spot, for football, for LSU, his alma mater? He just fired a championship coach 21 months after he won a national title, and he's going to get timid and go with a guy who would be the most underwhelming of his career. That's never sat right for me. And to me, there was only a handful of names that really fitted that criteria of the kind of Grand Slam hire he'd be looking for.
Andy Whitaker, why does it have to be an A-list splash hire? Aranda or Napier are worth taking a shot at. And look, and that is a strong argument because look, you can go for the A-list hire, and does that necessarily mean 4 or 5 years from now that a Napier, a guy like Billy Napier, wouldn't necessarily actually be the better coach for you long term? It's a risk, and then especially if Napier ends up getting the Florida Gator job, and of course we're about to go to a pod system in the SEC, so you won't face him every year, but you'll face him often enough if he has a lot of success. Is he going to be in the line of Spurrier, Urban Meyer, Billy Napier if he gets that job?
Yeah.
Or is he more of the Muschamp Zook variety?
Well, and you don't really know. I have a lot more faith in him than you would as a Zook or someone like that, but only time will really tell. And let me say this: there's a number.
Dan
of
Mullen
guys.
is a darn good football coach, and he failed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough sometimes out there, and it really
That's
nowadays it really only takes one rough year.
There's almost like there's a gree on Florida because really there's no excuse for them to go through 3 coaches in a row that quickly and fail.
You mean what would you call it, a gree? You mean on the state of Florida? Think about every team in that state.
But Florida, 12 years ago, if you would have polled people and said, what is the premier job in America?
Probably Florida would be right up there.
Florida would have been there. And now the LSU job is considered a better job than Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, LSU
within a decade.
LSU's considered top 5.
That's what 3 bad
by
hires
anybody who knows what they're talking about.
That's what 3 bad failure hires in a row can do to you.
That's right. Whereas 3 championship hires at LSU, where 2 out of 3 of them weren't highly respected. Let me tell you this. I have a confidence that given the talent base and resources available at LSU, I think there's a handful of guys, if you bring them in, Aranda, even Mark Stoops, Napier, I think they'll win some football games at LSU. I think LSU is looking for a higher level of consistency than what we've seen over the last 20 years.
Yeah. The whole deal with I think the big deal for this whole thing is recruiting. You want that splash hire, and I go back to what I wrote in my column on Tuesday. Scott Woodward hasn't gone from Washington to Texas A&M and then back home to Baton Rouge to be the athletics director, and waiting in the weeds and dealing with all the stuff behind the scenes with Ed Orgeron, stuff that you know about, stuff you don't know about, and the list is long. Okay, he hasn't been waiting in the weeds to not make the biggest hire of his life. He's born and raised in Baton Rouge, Catholic High grad, dream job.
Yeah.
I just, and it's no offense to what we're calling B-list guys, because in reality, I think those are all
They're all good coaches.
They're all good coaches,
Right?
To me, it goes against, and it goes against the amount of money that I know he likes to spend.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a notorious. Folks in College Station said, man, they were just, there was no stopping him with the checkbook.
Let's put it like this: he had to line up $26 million from donors to send this coaching staff packing.
Yeah, you don't line up $26 million to roll out Billy Napier, and I'm not picking on Billy Napier.
I mean, that's exactly right.
Bingo. Let's insert Mark Stoops. You don't do that,
I agree. And let me tell you, if they didn't have Lincoln Riley on the hook, now I understand if something fell at the last minute, something fell apart, but if they didn't have Lincoln Riley on the hook, and this was all just hoopla, fan-driven, whatever, someone said something, and Lincoln Riley gave you just enough to believe it, then the administration is foolish for not trying to squash that somehow, some way 3 weeks ago.
Unless, like I said, and you're going against my thoughts on it, unless he's about to insert another A-lister in.
Well, who would the A-lister be?
The A-listers are the ones I've named.
I'm sorry. I think I don't think you use the big tuna to be the distraction from another good name. I just don't. I don't. I think maybe use Lincoln Riley if it's like something crazy like Urban Meyer or Nick Saban. But
I'm trying to understand why you're singling out him as being the only.
He's the big tuna out there. Absolutely,
he's not
man.
the only big.
He's the big one.
No, he's not.
Absolutely. All right, guys, y'all comment. Is he the biggest name on the board? To me, it's not even close. It's Lincoln Riley, a county mile, the next guy. Yeah, that's how I feel. Yeah, I look. I've done a lot of research on this, and it's not. I mean, I would say the next best guy on my list would be Luke Fickell, and he's pretty good, I'd say. Now, is he gonna stay put or not? We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
The accolades speak for themselves, man.
Mark Smith, Preston's in love with one man. He's all in, man.
Yeah, in terms of evaluating the quality of coach. Yeah, that's just my honest evaluation.
Brian Burgess, I don't think Riley is the biggest fish. KO agrees with Preston. Andre Green, Riley is the biggest attainable coach. Faux show, Lincoln Riley is the big fish.
Mike Scarborough is drunk if he doesn't think Riley is the big fish. I mean,
Scott Trawl and Riley has been in a weak conference, Preston.
Oh, okay. So any conference that's not the SEC. I mean,
I agree with Preston, Gary Williams.
Come on. I mean, what are we gonna do? Like what's a quote strong conference if the Big 12 isn't a strong conference? The Big 10? I mean, come on. Not everybody can coach in the SEC, people.
Sorry, Mike. I have to agree with Preston. Lincoln probably a cut above everyone else is attainable. Well, what makes you think Lincoln was attainable any different than anybody else?
Well, I had a long breakdown on that. And there were 4 factors that I saw and that I spoke with Ryan Aber, and I've spoken to other OU sources. Number 1, money. OU has a culture where they can pay, but they'll choose not to because they pride themselves on being fiscally conservative. Number 2, championships.
I'm told Phil Knight will not shell out more for Cristobal.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know about all that.
He'll pay for facilities, but he won't pay
But
for
championships.
coaches.
He might feel like he's hit a ceiling at OU where he's kind of shooting out a Hail Mary where I have to go into Texas just to find some guys to compete for a championship, and I'm just going to go to the playoffs to get my butt kicked as long as I'm here. Number 3, he might feel his stock is at an all-time high, given that they're about to go in the SEC, and you could kind of expect a couple more losses from that. So he might want to choose to cash out on that.
Chance Babb and Riley is the big fish, but Napier would be the best catch.
Maybe so. I'm not going to sit here and say Lincoln Riley would be better than any other coach, but he's the biggest name out there by a wide shot.
Josh Ford's Lincoln is young and has a great winning record. He is good with quarterbacks and offense. Look, I'm all for Lincoln Riley, but I disagree. He's not the only A-lister that you can get. Carl Dunn, how about breaking down that last play? Enough on the coaching talk. Been hearing it for weeks.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
man.
Max Johnson
How about
throws it out. Perfect pass.
How about Jack Besh on 4th down though? 4th and 6.
Jack Besh bailed him out. His first catch of the night. And by the way, he was flashing and streaking over the middle all night long.
Yeah,
but he gets his first catch to keep on a 4th down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that was. And is it just me, or does it feel like that was the first clutch play of the year that this team was able to make? It seems like this team's had about 5 or 6 opportunities to make a big time clutch play when it came down to it, and every single time Max Johnson's been sacked. Like that's what it feels like this season has been. Am I the only one? Maybe I'm off basis, but does it feel that way? Because that felt good. That felt, yes, they made a play. I had zero expectation. I was like, all right, here comes another sack, and they're going to drop to 5 and 7. That sucks. So good for them, man. That was an exciting drive.
Do me a favor and read some of the comments from yours. I'm checking to see if we're back up on
the site. Okay, all right. I'll go through and read some comments here. Let's see here. It's simple. Oklahoma is coming to the SEC. Why would they let their coach go to GAUX? That's from Denley Nelson. Because the reason why is because Lincoln Riley might feel his stock is at an all-time high, being that they're going to the SEC. Maybe he goes from 10-2 every year to 9-3, or instead of being 11-1, 10-2, extra loss or so. Maybe his stock is high while he's 55-10. That's why maybe. Agreed, Napier is best for long term. Riley could leave for the NFL at any time. That's Andre Green. Look, I could see. Look, what Napier's done at ULL is very impressive. That program actually, I went back and they actually haven't had a coach with a winning record since like ever. Basically, I mean, you have to go back 50 plus years to find a coach with a winning record there. And he's done a very good job. I mean, he's got a very high win percentage, something like 38-13. He's 11-1 this year. Very impressive job. No nonsense guy. Respected as an offensive mind. He's coached under Dabo Swinney. Of course, he did get fired by Dabo Swinney, but he did coach under Dabo Swinney. He's coached under Nick Saban. He's coached under some very good football coaches during his time. So I wouldn't feel bad if Napier's the guy you have to turn to. I think he could do some very good things and win some big football games. Does his resume stack up to Lincoln Riley? Not even close.
He's got a win over Iowa State.
Yeah, that's an impressive win. And by the way, Iowa State was better last year. Iowa State went to a New Year's Six bowl.
Yeah, but when he played them, they had just got on the practice field that week because of
Iowa
COVID.
State?
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, you don't have impressive wins, but you're not an impressive program. Let's be honest. Like ULL is not the caliber program of a lot of Power 5 teams. So I get where you're coming from, but he's playing teams on his level. Let's see here. Lincoln also has a top recruiting class in 2023 and a good one this year. That's Adam Ahmed. Of course, that plays a factor, but I mean, LSU is Disney World for recruiters. I mean, there's going to be tons of great recruits. Maybe Lincoln Riley's sitting there. I'm just saying maybe. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's more excited about the recruiting class. I know for a fact he'd probably be conflicted one way or the other. So anybody who's spoken definitively one way or the other on this coaching search, my take on that has been you're not doing it for the pursuit of objectivity. That's for sure. It's agenda bias driven if you're just being 100% one way or the other. Hey guys, do us a favor. If you're liking this show, let's see if we can punch us above 1,000 viewers right now. Y'all hit like on the video if you're watching, hit share. If you do, get us up there, man. We're getting close. This is a ton of viewers.
Share to social media, Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah, share it out there, man. Let's get 1,000 people up in here. It's very exciting to see these shows grow the way they have. Guys, has Darante Jones earned himself a look at future D coordinator?
Man, I tell you what, that
Carl Alexander.
I like what the defense has done with all the personnel that's missing, and the way ever since I don't know what took place, for them all of a sudden it feel like the handcuffs were taken off of him after the open date, and I think we finally started to see what Darante Jones could do. And so can you imagine what he could do if you didn't have the opt-outs, you didn't have the injuries? I'm going to be real curious to follow Darante Jones's career wherever he ends up, because I had a chance to meet him out one night, and man, talk about a nice guy.
Yeah. I think he's got a bright future.
Super coach. And look,
I don't know if it's with LSU, but I'm gonna tell you what. There's some school out there that's gonna take a shot on him as DC. It took a while for players to gel in his system, and they played very conservative. I mean, very vanilla for the first
players
3-4 weeks. Yeah, that's a big deal. I think he's got a bright future.
Look at the defensive backs that are playing.
Yeah.
That weren't starters.
Oh,
and look, every one of them have improved.
Oh yeah. I mean,
have you missed Eli Ricks?
Can't really say. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. Let me put it like this. If you have all those guys healthy, I would love to have seen what this defense could do down the stretch with Stingley and Ricks in there.
And look at the linebacker play.
The linebacker play
with
man.
Coach Baker.
So it's improved dramatically. I think Damone Clark was probably looking at 5th round at best before the season, probably closer to a 7th round.
He will test so well.
I think he'll test well. I think we're talking about a top 3 round pick, if not a 1st round pick for Damone Clark, and I think he'll make some NFL team very lucky. Let's see here. Absolutely not true. Mark Hudspeth had a winning record at ULL. Is that true? I'm pretty sure he had 3 straight losing seasons. Let's see. I'll look into that. Maybe someone Google his record. I'm pretty sure I saw Mark Hudspeth had a losing record in 3 straight losing seasons before getting fired. And
there's some Hudspeth stories out there that'll curl your hair.
Yeah, and that program was not in a good spot when it was handed to Napier. I know that for a fact. Let's see here. Brian Kelly and Notre Dame destroying Stanford. Yeah, he's a good coach. I don't know. He pretty adamantly denied it. He said he'd need a $250 million offer to consider it. Let's see here. Jimmy James. Lincoln is the highest profile option that could be announced in the next week. Other options are NFL preparing for college football playoff, or in the NFL are preparing for the playoffs. Only wild outside shot I could think of is Doug Peterson. I think Doug Peterson's done. I don't think he wants to coach football anymore. I think he's just kind of tapped out of it. Let's see here. We'll go down here. Some more comments here. He started using lots of 3-man fronts. Yeah, that's been very helpful. And I think Orgeron really wanted the 4-man front.
He ran Aranda off because he wanted to go back to a 4-3. And in reality, the better defense in the SEC is a 3-4.
Yeah. Someone asked if we need to keep Blake Baker. Of course, we've talked about retaining coaches a lot. Ultimately comes down to whoever your new head coach is needs to decide whatever he wants.
That's what you look. If a new coach, it depends on the coach, who he's going to bring with him. I imagine there's some coaches who are going to be like, you know what, I don't want any traces back to the old staff. I want my guys. I think so-and-so's a good coach, but I don't want any remnants from the previous regime. That can happen.
Yeah.
A coach can come in and say, man, I think Blake Baker is phenomenal. And, I had so-and-so in mind to be my linebackers coach, but I think Baker is probably just as good as a coach, but a better recruiter. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to Baker. You never know how that's going to play out.
Right.
But it's also, if it ends up being Lincoln Riley, all right, well, who's his defensive coordinator to be now that he's got $2.5 million plus to hire a DC at LSU? And who is that DC and what is his specialty?
Yeah.
Is he a defensive backs coach? Well, then all of a sudden that makes Corey Raymond's likelihood of remaining. Is he a linebackers coach? Well, that means Baker's out.
We'll see. I mean, it's one of those deals.
It's not just who Lincoln Riley wants to bring in. Lincoln Riley's got to hire a defensive coordinator.
It's one of those deals.
And who does that defensive coordinator want?
It's really hard to read the tea leaves on that until you know who your head guy is, because you just don't know where his thoughts are going to be at. I'm going to tell you one guy for DC that always comes to mind is you got Will Muschamp sitting there at Georgia as an analyst. He's a good coordinator.
I think Will needs to just go ahead and country club it.
Maybe so. His son does play for Georgia.
With all that money he's got, just country club it.
Maybe so. But I'm going to tell you this. Administration at LSU, including Scott Woodward, loves Will Muschamp. I remember the day he got fired from Florida, we were in the office, and Woodward wasn't there at the time. I'm not talking about him, but I just remember a few administrators we were in the room seeing him do his termination press conference for Florida. Like, people were just like, man, that sucks.
F. Xanax, either y'all haven't seen the latest Riley quote or y'all are more delusional than we all thought. No, we saw the quote, and we thank Scott and others for putting it in here for us, and Blake. But when you put him on the spot, he's going to say what he has to say.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to reveal that to a media member in a post-game press conference when he hasn't had a chance to talk to his team in a team meeting.
Right. It's the right thing to do. Now, could he have sidestepped it and do it a little differently? I don't know. But, yeah, it's one of those things that's really difficult to read into. I wouldn't eliminate him from contention, and I might be dead wrong here. I would not eliminate him until you see who rolls out to that podium, and that should be this week. I would assume it will be this week because anybody you've been talking about, we're not talking is in a conference championship or anything like that. They should be available for the grabbing right now. So we shall see if it's and if it's not Lincoln, then I'm wrong.
Dean W. Riley is out. See the news. We'll see.
We'll see. What did Alabama say? Alabama coach Nick Saban say?
By the way, are these coach of Alabama? Are these guys also, by the way, F. Xanax and Dean W.? Are you Sooner fans?
Yeah, I severely doubt. There's not any bias slipping into your comments here.
Gerald Jr., it's become obvious that the players bought into Darante's scheme. He definitely should get a look, especially if rapport with the young guys has already been established. We'll see. There's so many scenarios that have to play out. But I do think Darante is going to be big somewhere in the coming years.
I agree. I think he's a very bright young coach, and he's improving as he goes. I see potential with him. I did not see that same potential on the other side of the ball. There's just a lot of issues outside of what play you're calling that were on that offense, and it's very concerning. So I don't know.
Yep. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap the show up. We got to get all of our post-game stuff up. I got Ed Orgeron coming, Jimbo Fisher video. Brian Lazar's instant analysis of the game is up. Preston's got to wrap up his story. Go to TigerBait, subscribe. We're going to be on the coaching search big time for the next wall-to-wall until it happens. So we're going to have it all for you on TigerBait. We're going to get text alerts with any breaking news, get our newsletters. So go to TigerBait, subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscription button and the notification bell. And we'll be back here live as soon as there is any new news or breaking. I'm probably just going to keep the studio rolling, and we're going to do it. Parker, stop it. We're going to do impromptu shows as we need. So Stay tuned to TigerBait.com, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
Night, y'all.